You gotta watch out for green. Go. Oh, he threw himself off the back. Oh, we got it. Nice. Where is he? He's running. I made him throw himself. Hello YouTube, this is Mars Gaming and welcome back to another ESO build video. Today I'm going to be showing my updated version of the Sunbreaker build, my heavy attack Sunbreaker build for the Stamina Dragonite for DragonBones. So let's get into the meat and potatoes. Originally I was running Impregnable with Kvatch Gladiator. I like Impregnable a lot, but I needed a bit more max stats since they took away CP in Battlegrounds, which they should have never added CP in the first place. Battlegrounds was a dark place. It was a dark place when CP was enabled, and I'm very happy that they took it away again. I was running one Chudon, one Bone Pirate, and not Bone Pirate, one Chudon, one Pirate Skeleton with Impreg and Kvatch Gladiator. Now I've switched that. I'm gonna go through I'll go through the character sheet first to show you my stats unbuffed, and then I'll go through the rest of the gear. So I have 1400 max magicka, 14,000 max magicka, 19,000 max health, 33,000 stamina, 554 magic recovery, 362 stamina health recovery, and 1600 stamina recovery. Might have said that twice. Weapon damage is 2558. And with 3,700, 37% in weapon crit. Buff spell resistance is 17,894, and physical resistance is 14,2351. 231. I'm sorry, I'm making grammatical errors. And my crit resistance is 2161. Could be a little bit higher, but I kind of prefer the perks the way they are. And I'm putting all into stamina, 64 into stamina. And I'm using the Warrior Mundus for the extra weapon damage. You can go Lover. This build lacks a little bit of penetration, but makes up for it in the dots. And the heavy attack hits pretty hard, so that's always nice. But if you can stand having it a little bit lower, and you prefer to run this build a specific way on the weapon bar, you can still get close to this amount of damage, if not more, or you could play around with your two-hander a bit. So into the gear, I'm still running Kvatch Gladiator. I still love Kvatch Gladiator to death. I do not need an execute because of this. The light and heavies are the execute, and I have no problem taking people out with it. So we got the weapon crit. We got the double weapon crit on the 3-piece and the 2 and 3-piece. We got the weapon damage on the 4-piece. And we have the when your target is under 25% health, add 1800 weapon damage to your light and heavy attacks. And oh, this is a defending axe. This is one of the things you can play with. I run the weapon damage enchant. You can run an infused axe to get more bang for your buck if you decide to play that way. But this is my turtle bar. I make sure I hit my igneous and my hardened armor. I don't use volatile because night blades hit you hard. You still gotta worry about sorks, and you kind of want to have like more damage mitigation. Now my dual wield bar, I'm running a Nerdhorn Gladiator mace. You can run a sharpened sword if you want, but I prefer the mace. It just feels better. I already have low penetration on this build. I'm gonna need a little bit more, so it calculates pretty well. I'm running a Gladiator's Axe and Sharpened. I have been playing around with a infused one. This hits harder against people who stack shields when you get them down low, and plus it comes back faster because the infused, it has a really fast uptime, which is great. It constantly deals with sorks, but don't expect it to carry you against sorks. You need to pressure them. You have to pressure sorcerers and anyone who stacks shields, because if you don't, this isn't going to help finish them. It'll get them close, but it won't help finish them. So you want to make sure you always pressure them, as well as being on defensive. I'm running 2-piece Bloodspawn. I don't have it impin, but there's a reason for that. I originally did not get it impin. I kind of like having the extra 9 recovery in each stat. It feels good. It feels good to have it. It helps me maintain survivability. I was thinking about making it impenetrable, but really I kind of like having it. It's not a huge amount, but on a class like a Red Guard or something that gives max stats like recovery or stuff like that, it feels really good to have, and it really boosts up the recovery some more. Since I get 9% recovery, it's 9% times the 9, so it gives me an extra 2 recovery. And I'm running Hockey Joes on the big pieces. I'm running impin pretty much everything. Oh, I'm running a sturdy shoulder. I kind of like sturdy for when I have to block. I kind of try to block every 2 seconds. I kind of want to switch sturdy out for well fitted. I do a lot of dodge rolling, especially against Nightblades who like to use executes, or class that use executes. Oh, another thing, I don't like using executes on my builds. They leave you kind of vulnerable, because I tend to roll dodge past some people and just hit them with a dizzy and go away from them and then just heal up completely. I don't like using executes. Some people are good with them. No, I'm not very good with them. I don't like to use them. I'm using, like I said, three hockages in the big pieces, and I switched impreg out for trainee. A lot of people, I talked about trainee in the past video. I said I got the idea from Christopher ESO. He's an amazing content creator. Please go check him out. Trainee is honestly one of my favorite sets because of the max stats. The max stats are too great to pass up. Even the fact that this got nerfed, it's still an amazing set to have if you want to have extra resources in every stat pool, because Gladiator lacks any stats other than sheer damage. So I gotta have that. Plus, Bloodspawn pairs in with that extra Stam recovery, which I will be upgrading this as is. Unless the only thing I would change for this would be either well fitted or sturdy. Also, yeah, I'm running all robust jewelry, all robust Stam jewelry. I'm running 2 weapon damage, 1 stamina recovery. I like having 1 Stam recovery because on the character sheet it's 1600. I think it drops down now. It's going to drop down to about 15. I want to say 1500 in battlegrounds, maybe 1450, but that still doesn't matter. Let me use a trash pot. If I can get up and use a trash pot. It jumps up to 1827, so in BGs it'll be about, I want to say about 1690 or 1720. That's still a lot of recovery. And I use oh yeah, the potions that I use. Let me go into that now. The potions that I use, I don't have a whole lot of them left. Right now I'm using the Essence of Speed. You can get these with I want to say Blessed Thistle. I collect a lot of Blessed Thistle. Basically you want to use Blessed Thistle and the Mirror's Rod, and I want to say Columbine. That's specifically for the major expedition, the immovability, and the extra stamina. The immovable speed pots are the lifeblood of this build. I only use them when I need to get to a specific location very quickly, like in Chaos Ball or Domination or Crazy King. Those specific locations I use those pots for. I also use Essence of Stealth Detect for pulling pesky Nightblades out of stealth. If you're not using these, you are handicapping yourself. I use the ones, I don't have them on me currently, but I use the ones that give me major vitality for when I get incapped. Those help out nicely to help mitigate some of the healing deficits that Nightblades affect on you, as well as reverbs that come to you, which I don't see too many reverbs because Dragon Knight is not the most prominent class. A lot of people play Templars and other classes, which is fine, which is all well and fine. I also like to use the not the stealth, the roguish escape pots you get from thief troves. Sometimes I use trash pots, but really I like using tri-stat pots. Those come in handy a lot. And oh, also the savagery potions. I'll link those in the description on how to make those. It's basically you get major savagery with health, that heals you and also gives you stamina. Those are also very nice. Next, I'm gonna go into the skills. Okay, I'm gonna start with the back bar first. My two-hander is my back bar. Remember, I'm using it. I'm using it offensively and defensively in certain situations. I do a lot of roll dodging on this setup, just to maintain my ability to survive against some groups. Now, this build is pretty tanky once all your buffs are up, and then the let's see, once all your buffs are up on the back bar, it's about 23. It's about 23 spell resist, 51 physical resist. Once blood spawn procs, it's gonna be what, 16? 6,000? Yep, it's gonna be okay. You're gonna be really close. Let's see. Play back up. Okay, you're gonna be really close to cap on spell resist, and you're gonna be a lot tankier on your physical resist. About 2,500, I want to say about 2,500. You can probably bump that up a little bit more in your CP tree if you decide to take this out in a Cyrodiil. I haven't really been to Cyrodiil that often on this build, but I do a lot of dueling. It is very tanky. Okay, into the skills again. I use hardened armor instead of volatile armor. I don't need that dot since I don't have a huge amount of magicka. Since really I like to try and if I'm gonna run volatile armor, I want to scale my magicka just a little bit more. So I'd probably run instead of if I wanted to do that, I'd probably add one magicka glyph, but I don't think I'm ever gonna do that. And I run Igneous Shield to pair with it. I like to hit in defensive stuff. I like to hit that Vigor, then pop Igneous Shield first, and then Hardened Armor. Hardened Armor has a less second duration than Igneous, so I hit Igneous first, and then hit Hardened Armor to protect the Igneous for a little while longer to maintain my healing. So that's the way I like to do it. Going into Rally, I gotta have Rally. Rally is an amazing heal for medium, and I use Dizzying Swing on this bar. My Dizzying Swing, if it's a heavy armored target or I get hit with minor maim, it's gonna drop quite a bit, but it's still a good spammable to have. I was running Shrouded Dagger on my front bar in the past, as well as the Fighters Guild ability Silver Leash. Silver Leash is great because it has a double take of damage, and plus is great against vampires and werewolves and stuff like that. You can use it as a main spammable because the second part of the damage after firing the bolt at an enemy, this ability changes into Titan, allowing you to pull yourself to that enemy and deal 5,900 physical damage if they are within 22 meters. This is great because it's also a gap closer, and the second part of the ability doesn't cost any stamina to use. I like this ability, but you have to use it wisely because it's not too costly of an ability, but you have to use it in the right intervals. You wanna make sure all your dots are up, as well as using it enough. I find myself not using it enough because I'm always trying to apply dots. It's a good ability. It's a really good ability. Very few people use it. And Shuffle, I don't use this too much. I only use it when I'm fighting Nightblades. When they come out of stealth, I use it mainly at the times when I know they have their end cap coming. That's when I use it. Because like whenever I see them try to gap close within me, I'll hit the roll dodge. I'll hit this before I roll dodge, and I tend to miss. I've been missing a lot of their end caps, which is good. Now the front bar is my dual wield. I use Reflective Scales. Now this is the bread and butter of this build. Reflective Scales is almost a must. I was running Fossilize. I took Fossilize off, and that's why I'm running Dizzying Swing now. I'm using Reflective Scales is just the basic one. I believe I want to try. I kind of want the one that gives me the more for a little bit more spell resist. For when blood spawn procs, it'll just get me even closer to cap, and I'll be able to eat a lot more projectiles when the ability goes off. But since I have a huge pool of magicka, I always have this on. I gotta always have this on because it just makes people feel very sad about themselves, especially those pesky sorks who like to toss frags at me. This thing reflects almost anything, except for Fossilize. I thought it affected Fossilize, but I was very wrong. It does not affect Fossilize, but most attacks it reflects them. Next is Quick Cloak. Now this is also the bread and butter of this build. The lifeblood of it is Quick Cloak. You are a vicious and fast dragon with this thing. Even the base Quick Cloak is even almost as good as the harder hitting morph of itself. This thing is nice. I like having this, and plus I don't need a gap closer. I can just move, weave through people, run around people. This makes Dragon Knights very difficult to fight. This ability, because it also deals a nice little damage, and I think it takes the dot damage up just a little bit, and it procs enchants, which is great. Vigor, of course, you need vigor. Definitely need vigor. My vigor tick looks low, but it gets up there when I have all my abilities up. I have blood craze, so that's also nice. I get the extra healing every time I buff up and hit the blood craze. And venomous claw, one of the strongest dots in the game. And I'm pairing this front bar with flawless Dawnbreaker. I was running leap on the front bar, and I was running corrosive armor on the back bar because of the lack of defense and the and plus the penetration. While active, your attacks ignore all physical resistance. I kind of played around with the Berserker's Rage. It's nice. It's definitely good for anyone who wants to run this build in heavy armor. You can do this in heavy armor, but you just need a really good burst heal if you want to run fort momentum, so you'll have to play around with it a bit more. And yeah, that's it for the skills. Oh, I run back on flawless though. I like flawless Dawnbreaker. I'm not looking for the stun. I'm looking for the weapon damage to pump up my my resolving vigor. Now other skills, I'm running a 5-1-1 on this setup, so I'm looking for max stats. And let's go to the armor passives. Light armor, I'm going for the recovery passives, the reduced cost because I'm using wings and a lot of magic abilities. And I also have spell warding. Spell warding is very important since I'm running a piece of light armor, and adding on to what I have already is going to be invaluable. Next is medium armor passes. I have all of them. Gotta have all of them. Improved sneak, I only won't need one. I don't really sneak around. I only sneak around when I'm like surveying an area. I don't do a whole lot of sneaking. And heavy armor, I'm probably gonna get all of these because I might tank sometimes on this character. But I gotta have the 3 base ones. Juggernaut, is it Juggernaut? Yeah, Juggernaut is really good to have. That 2% really comes in handy. And here it is, Constitution passives. Increase your health recovery by 4% for each piece of heavy armor. So I have 1 piece, so 4%. And you restore 108 magicka and stamina when you take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. This effect can occur once every 4 seconds. If you're not running at least 1 piece of heavy armor, you really should be. I've considered in the past running 2 pieces, but I kind of like having more stats, so that's why I run 3 different armor pieces. You gotta have those max stats, man. It comes in handy. Plus, the physical and spell resist always comes in handy too. Now, Fighters Guild, you definitely want most of the passives. You need to get Banished the Wicked, like I have. I need to get it because that extra ult does come in handy. Slayer, gotta have that, and this is good for PvE stuff. You gotta have that too. Plus, this is always nice. Always doing more damage to undead, since there's a lot of undead and Daedra and werewolves running around in BGs and Cyrodiil. You kind of want this as well. Next is the Undaunted. I still have to get the last part of Undaunted. I'm pretty sure once I get the last part, it's going to scale to almost 35 max stam and get close to 20k health. You want at least, if you're doing a lot of Cyrodiil content, you want at least 25k health on this setup. Just for the fact that you need to survive, because there's a lot of hard-hitting builds in Cyrodiil. Next is Resolving Vigor, of course, blah blah blah. The Redguard skill on, you want all of this. And Alchemy, I need to get the last 2 parts of Medicinal Use. I've been kind of slacking on my Alchemy on this character, but I will be finishing that up. This is specifically so your potions last longer. Like you want the regen to be almost 100% uptime. And I believe that's about it. I'm going to go into somewhat of the playstyles. I'll probably go into the old playstyle that I had for this setup and slowly walk through it just to give you an idea. So, Blade Cloak. You can actually knock Nightblades out of stealth with Blade Cloak just by, like, if they immediately go in the stealth in front of you, you can hit Blade Cloak and it will knock them out of stealth by hitting them. It's a great ability. It's a great utility ability to have if you don't have any stealth attack pots or using Camouflage Hunter or anything like that. Like now, when you buff, usually buff up. I usually don't hit Shuffle unless I'm fighting Nightblades. You have to have that up against Nightblades. You just got to. Usually I rely on my mobility. With this, I dance around enemies. I usually dance around people like this. Hit them with medium lights and going heavy. And then that, do heavies in the dizzying swing. Into light dizzying swing. And then go into leap. I usually save the Dawnbreaker unless I absolutely wish to dot them up. I usually don't hit them with the Dawnbreaker unless I need to dot them up. It hits pretty hard, at the level that it's at, but I prefer leap. I just have a higher chance of doing more damage with leap. Now, Blade Cloak is also, it reduces the amount of damage taken by AoEs. So keeping all that up with Blade Cloak, I sometimes forget to reapply it unless I'm trying to speed around. You want Blade Cloak up almost 80% of the time. It doesn't have to have 100% uptime. Plus, it does a nice amount of damage, and it causes the dots to seethe a bit more, which is nice. I do like when my dots hit hard. So you do want to. Oh, you have to do a lot of bar swapping on this build. Like if you're on this bar and you have to fight against a Nightblade, you want to make sure that shuffle is up, hit that vigor, keep Blade Cloak up. Oh, always hit your wings every few seconds. If you see any type of staff user, and make sure those wings are up. They usually like to tap you for some reason before they hit you with like some shards or any spears. Spears is, this can also send spears flying back at Templars. This is always nice to have. You really do want to have wings. So I'm gonna go through a short rotation of what I usually do. Short buff. So usually go in with like the light heavy into Blood Craze, light into Dizzying Swing, and then my usual finisher heavy attack into the leap. It does a nice amount of damage and the dots are all there. It's pretty nice. And oh, make sure you keep that Blade Cloak up. It's always nice to keep that up. So lighter heavy into Blood Craze, into Venomous Claws, into light attack on the back bar, into light and heavy, into Dizzying Swing. You can spam this if you know how to use it properly. Dizzying Swing can be easily missed. So make sure if you're not getting the Dizzying Swing, go in for light and heavies. Some tricky players like Nightblades can evade you very easily. So make sure you hit those Blade Cloaks to back up just a little bit. You want them to come to you. You don't want to always go to Nightblades. Because if you always go to Nightblades, you'll end up walking into their end cap. You don't want to do that. You will die at that point. But let's say you do get end capped. Let's say this is the Nightblade. What you want to do is you want to hit that vigor. You want to CC break, hit that vigor immediately, and roll dodge once, and circle them. You want to circle them. They'll hit you with something again like siphoning strikes or something similar to that. You want to always circle them. Keep that up. If you need to hit that shuffle and go back into vigor. Hop around them if you need to, especially with Blade Cloak. Blade Cloak, because ESO has gravity, you can kind of jump around very easily and avoid their attacks and recover, which I do. I do it all the time, and you can make them pay for it. Some Nightblades are kind of smart. They'll go back into Cloak and try and stun you, but you don't see too many of those these days. I saw one recently that did that. That guy was pretty smart. I'll give him that. He's a pretty good Nightblade. Okay, going into the other setup. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, now this is the completely the spammable on the front bar instead of the back bar. So I removed Dizzying Swing, I put Shuffle there, and added Venomous Claws on the back bar. I also added Berserk Strike. I think it's Berserk Strike, or is the other morph of it? Let's see. Yeah, Berserker's Rage. Berserker's Rage gives you that the immobilization and snare buff, so you can't be snared for 8 seconds. So it's kind of like forward momentum, which is nice. It's not too costly to get to, because if you're always throwing out those light and heavies, you're going to get to that very quickly. Not to mention, Blood Spawn is going to proc almost all the time. Now, you don't have wings, so you need to play more cautiously. You need to choose your battles appropriately. Do not just run head first unless you absolutely know you can get out of there. So Vigor has to stay up almost 90% of the time. Vigor is your life's blood on this setup here. You kind of have to have Vigor and keep Blade Cloak up, because that's going to be reducing the AoEs. And you also need to block more on this setup. That's kind of why I decided to go away from this, but it does deal a lot of damage because of the Shrouded Dagger and the Silver Bolt. Now I'm going to do Silver Bolt, one shot of Silver Bolt, and then I'm going to pull myself in. It does a lot of damage, and it doesn't really have a cooldown. Well, it has a universal 1 second cooldown. It's very easy spammable. It doesn't cost a whole lot, and it's very nice to use. So when you're using this setup, make sure you buff up completely. Oh, and also you get the little buff from you get 3% weapon damage buff from having Silver Bolt applied. You can run Shrouded Dagger if you're playing against a lot of group players. I like Shrouded Dagger because like it'll hit one person and hit 2 more people. It's a nice DPS ability to have. So when you're here, make sure you buff up again. So you go in for the heavy attack, mid leash. Usually I go for Fossilize, but for some reason they took Fossilize abilities away from doing it on dummies. So you hit here, immediately go for the Fossilize, and heavy attack and Venomous Claws. You're kind of switching bars a whole lot as well. You're going to keep all your buffs up. Always do damage like that. Keep that up. Keep that Blade Cloak up. And to Fossilize. This is you kind of play this setup like a Magic Dragon Knight. You just constantly root them whenever that CC comes. You're roll dodging. You're keeping everything up. You get what I'm saying. So yeah, it's pretty much the build. Oh yeah, and let's see. Let me see this. I wish I could proc the Blood Spawn, but when you get the Berserker's Rage, you get a huge amount of resistance. Yeah, really huge amount of resistance. Yeah, I remember that. You can almost not die because of that, as long as you keep your vigors up. It's a really tanky setup, which is really nice. Okay, let me show my buffed weapon damage, 'cause I think I forgot that. On the front bar, it's about 4K on the front bar. Let me get it again. And around 3,600 on the back bar. So you have a lot of weapon damage. You can play around with this some more. I would advise, if anything, I would advise running the where is it? As a Mundus, I would advise running the Lover for the penetration, for this physical penetration. The spell penetration also comes in handy because whenever someone hits you, the volatile the reflective damage from the hardened armor is going to affect them as well. That's always something nice to have because a lot of people don't factor in that tick damage. Most people don't even allocate magic for a Stamina Dragon Knight. When you use those type of debuffs and attacks or indirect damages, so to speak, they calculate as well. They also calculate to your DPS, so you want to kind of have that. It's kind of thinking outside the box, if you will. So thanks again for watching the video. I hope you try out the build. If you don't, that's fine. I just want to say thanks again for watching and have a great day. Roll the clips. You might watch this one up here.
You got thirsty, my bad. What the fuck?
Stay with the group, Manny, because they are...
I'm really just gonna go by this and follow through. Come downstairs. You fucking little bitch! Oh my god. You lucky little faggot. Where are you guys at?
About to go down.